In progress.
I am actually.
Me too.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everyone. We'll get started with Coach Blashill. Please let us know if you'd like to ask a question. Answer Khan.
Yeah, Jeff, with Valeno, I know he's played like 4 or 5 games and gets sent down, and then another 4 or 5 games get injured. So you haven't seen him for an extended stretch, but from what you've seen of him, what areas have you seen growth from the start of the season or from the start of training camp?
I don't know if I can really say that. I think it's been, as you said, stop and started enough that, I think he's still, I don't think he's yet played his best hockey for us. And I think he's got better hockey in him than what he's played so far. We had a really good period against Toronto, where he controlled the puck. I think he's done a good job at times of when he has the puck on his stick, he can transport it from one end to the other and control it. But I think there's more there, and I'm hoping that we see that here tomorrow night.
I know it's a day-to-day thing, but there is the opportunity there with Stevens' injury to kind of for him to gain some traction and kind of establish himself.
Yeah, for sure. I think once that injury happened, there was opportunity, and then he ended up, injured, and there's nothing you can do about that. And now obviously Bert's out for the next little bit, and Stevens is out, and there's more opportunity. So, it's important, guys, when they get these opportunities, they grab it, and they don't blend in, they don't play okay, they play great, and those are the guys ultimately that end up sticking.
And DeKaiser, is he available for tomorrow, or does he need more practice time?
No, he's available for tomorrow. He's available for tomorrow.
Thanks.
Yep.
Ted Colton.
Jeff, are you comfortable using Joe more like in a top six role or bottom six role, or is that his strength that you're able to use him almost anywhere basically in the lineup?
Yeah, I think I think he's got the opportunity to play up because he's been accountable defensively. So I think, and he's got enough skill to play up. Whether over a long period of time he produces to the level that you would see in a normal top six role, we'll see. And that's for him to decide. And I would say a lot of times there's top six, middle six, and bottom six, and I don't know where yet his ceiling is. He doesn't know where his ceiling is. None of us do. But I do think that he's a good-sized body. He's strong. I think he's got good skill, and I think that he's been pretty accountable defensively. If he does those things, that earns you minutes, whatever line that is, And I would say, rather than get wrapped up in whether it's top six or bottom six, it's a little bit more at times fit with a line, and then how productive that line can be.
That's all I need. Thanks.
Yeah.
Max Boltman.
Hey Jeff, I just wanted to ask you about Gustav Lindstrom and kind of what your read has been on him so far this year.
I think Liddy's played pretty good. Some nights I think he's been really good, and some nights not quite to the same level. And I think it's just that consistency on a night-to-night basis that's critical. That area that any young player can improve, and probably any player. But I think he's been pretty good. He's Lindy moves the puck really well. He's a really good passer. I think he's gotten a little bit quicker. I think he's gotten a little bit stronger. That's helped him. He needed both those things, and I think he needs to continue to improve in those two areas. Because ultimately he's going to be a guy who's a real good hard defender who can pass a puck, and those are extremely valuable in this league.
Thanks.
Helene St. James.
Jeff, how much has Nick Leddy bolstered your defense?
Nick's done a good job for us. Nick is first off, I think he's got a really good veteran presence to him. I think he's got a really good. He's really good with our younger players, or even our middle-aged players, so to speak. He's just got a good way about him. He's calm. He helps kind of talk through situations with his partner, whoever he's playing with. And so I think he's brought that. And then he's also obviously, he's a dynamic skater. And again, I think we're in a spot where we need him to be on top of his game every single night. and he's getting there. And I think that consistency is critical, as I talked about with Lindy or any other player. And so, I think he's getting there. Where in our decor, you're not going to hide necessarily if you're not having a good night. You got to make sure that you're on top of your game every night. And I think that's an area that can continue to improve. But I think he's done a good job for us.
And to follow up on that, I mean, there's a lot of excitement about young defensemen, but having Nick Leddy, Danny DeKeyser, Mark Stahl, I mean, they play an important role.
Critical role. And I will tell you this, it's hard to be a young defenseman in this league. And there's a lot of really good, talented defensemen. You see, it's been interesting to watch. The league has gotten younger, certainly over the last number of years, but the guys who have really been able to make an impact early and help team wins are forwards. And you have some guys like Sider who can help you, but it's hard to be a young defenseman. There's a ton of learning that goes on. It's harder to step in the league and be a D than it is a forward. And that learning is facilitated by veterans like Stahl, DeKeyser, and Leddy. And those guys are critical extensions of a coaching staff and have way more impact than any coach would have when they're kind of talking through situations and reinforcing some of the thoughts and beliefs that we have as a coaching staff. So I think their presence has been huge in the development of our younger defensemen on that right side.
Thank you.
Danielle Bruce?
Coach, you've said pretty much all season that you've had 8 NHL defensemen on this team, and they were all going to get some time at some point, but the last 4 games have been wins for you, and with Danny DeKeyser being available, does it make your decision hard on where to slot him into the lineup?
Well, I think it's certainly competitive, and that's a good thing. And if guys have played good enough over the last 4 games to help in those wins and deserve to stay in, then they're going to stay in, regardless of if guys come available or not. And I don't think there's huge separation between a lot of defensemen on our team. I think they're all real good players, and ultimately, we got to try to put the best lineup out on a nightly basis, and part of that's who's playing really good at that time. And so, is it harder for a player coming back from injury to just get back inserted in the lineup? Obviously, it always depends. If there's certain players that there's a huge separation in their play, then they generally just kind of get back inserted. But if guys are close and the guys that have been in the lineup are playing good, they're going to stay in the lineup.
Thank you.
Jonathan Mills?
Jeff, you talked a couple nights ago about guys filling those roles for you when they're called upon. How have you seen players step up to the challenge when they may have roles that they're not accustomed to?
I think our guys have done a pretty good job of that. We've lost, I would say it's kind of been hit and miss. Obviously, we were on the road there and lost Larkson, Bertuzzi, and we didn't have a very good record. And so, at that point, I can't sit here and say to you, well, the guys stepped up and filled those roles great. But yet, I thought the other night when we found out Bert was out, I thought guys stepped in those roles really good, So, again, when you lose players for whatever the reason might be, the degree to which you miss them always depends on how good the other guys play. And I thought, the other night was a good step in terms of guys coming in and playing really good. So that'll continue to be critical through the season for, as you guys know, injuries are always going to be a part of it. And certainly with COVID, at any point it can strike, and your player pool gets depleted.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Carly Johnston?
The chemistry on this team seems to be really good. For example, the chemistry between Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond. How important is it to have connections like that between the players on the team?
Well, I think there's a couple different areas where chemistry plays a factor. One is within guys that are playing together on the ice. So like Raymond and Larkin, and certainly when Bert's been there, that chemistry is kind of developed over playing together consistently. Skill sets matching well. Sometimes you can have elite players that just their skill sets don't match very well. And in this case, I think their skill sets match well, and that has really helped. I think the synergy of that line and in those two players. There's also kind of a chemistry within your team. I think a lot of teams, guys like each other. That doesn't always produce winning results. I think this group has been willing to sacrifice for each other, and that does produce winning results. And there's probably a difference there. And so I think if your group's willing to sacrifice for each other, because they not only care about each other, but their want to win is so great that it supersedes everything else, then you've got a chance to have a special group.
And obviously, there are a lot of different factors that go into having a winning team, but how important and critical is it to have such a successful goalie tandem like we do in adult divisions, right?
Yeah, you don't win in this league without great goaltending. The level of talent is so equal from team to team. The discrepancy in talent, I should say, is just very, very little. There's other levels where you can win because you just have way more talent than the other team on a consistent basis. In this league, that rarely, if ever, happens. The best team of the last 2 years has been Tampa, but they've also had the best goalie, in my opinion. So I think goaltending's critical. I think you got to have a really good to elite goaltending to expect to be a winning team. And I think in most cases you need two guys that can do it. And so I think having those guys both come in and giving us solid starts is critical for us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it for us today. Thanks, everyone.